Greetings, my friends. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the recent GT I was at where I won Best Sportsman, how you can do that, potentially, and also how I just had tons of fun playing a really interesting list and something different. I think Arks of Omen presents a unique opportunity for us to do that in 9th edition, so this should be a fun video, so stick around and let's get into it. Alright, I better start by telling you my list, because I really do think this was a fun list. And this was a Blood Angels list led by Roboute Guilliman, starting on 5 CP, paying 2 CP for Relics of the Chapter, 1 for a hero and 1 for Angel's Ascendant. And obviously, Roboute Guilliman was the Warlord, so he gives us 3 CP. He is 300 points, but he was a great fun addition to my list. And I'm going to talk about him a little bit later, so if you want to hear all the ins and outs of Guilliman, then stay till the end. Next up was my Chapter Master, and I've run this Chapter Master a bunch of times. I think he's really important for giving Death Company rerolls. I take Rites of War because I think Obsex wins games. And I also take Quake Bolts because I think Thunderhammers and other Blood Angels weapons hitting on 2s also wins games. So that's one of the reasons that I take Quake Bolts. I took a Tech Marine. First time I've run the Tech Marine in a long time. Took him over the Sanguinary Priest for a change. And I put the Tech Marine inside my Terex Siege Drill. He's running Icon of the Angel, which basically means my Siege Drill can reroll its charge. And the Tech Marine had a ton of free weaponry, like a Cubby Melta, a Power Axe, a Servo Arm, a Servo Harness, which gives him a second Servo Arm, and he also has a Plasma Cutter and a Flamer. So the Tech Marine has a good amount of shooting, and when he does charge, you're going to get to make 2 attacks with that Servo Arm, and the Servo Arm is basically a Thunder Hammer with no -1 to hit. So it's a Thunder Hammer hitting on 3s for 2 attacks, and then his axe isn't bad either. So there's the reason behind running the Tech Marine. I run 1 squad of Incursors with mine, and 1 squad of Infiltrators with the Gauntlet. We know Infiltrators are the best. I would have liked to run 2 probably, but I needed the points. The Incursors with the mine were fine. I think the mine is cool. Typically it does a few mortal wounds when they get charged, which is always nice. Alright, Blade Guard. I ran a 3-man squad. I ran 2 squads of Death Company, 1 with 5 hammers, 1 with 5 infernal pistols and power swords, and that's different to what I've been running, and I'm going to talk about them as well. I ran 5 Sanguinary Guard, all with infernal pistols. I would have probably maybe unified the weapon options here, but those were the models that I'd made. So I had 3 swords, 1 axe, 1 fist. Overall, I thought it was fine. I ran a squad of sternguard for 100 points. You're going to get 2 multi-meltas. You're going to get 3 combi plasmas, and I'm going to get to put a power fist on the sergeant. Quite a lot of war gear on that squad there for 100 points. Not many units get those free multi-meltas, so the free multi-meltas and the sternguard is really nice. And then I ran a Terminator squad. This time round, I made the Sergeant double Lightning Claws and put Storm Shields, Thunderhammers and everyone else, thinking that the other models would essentially let the squad tank up, and the Sergeant with his double Lightning Claw would have one of them mastercrafted, which means he can do 6 2-damage attacks. Basically, once you get Savage Echoes up, and before that it would be 5. Still, a lot of attacks at 2 damage, and Lightning Claws are -3 once we hit the Assault Doctrine. Finally, to round out the list, and here's obviously a beautiful picture of Roboute Guilliman. I was calling him Roboute Guilliman usually through the event. Someone on chat gave me this funny name, and there was another name that came up for him as well, so there's 3 choices for Roboute Guilliman. I kept my Whirlwind because I like Fight Last. I put in a Gladiator Reaper, which Highland Phoenix would be happy about because he's been badgering me for about a year to run a Reaper. First time I've run it as a tournament. I think it is very useful into certain armies, and overall I think a Gladiator Reaper or a couple of Baal Predators in Arks of Omen is pretty good for Blood Angels. So you get Auto Launchers, Icarus Rocket Pods, Iron Hail Heavy Stubber. It has a lot of firepower, it's useful. I ran my Terex, which I just got, which housed, so the Tech Marine and the Sternguard were inside the Terex in every game. And then I ran a squad of Agents of the Imperium Voidsmen at Arms, and Voidsmen at Arms for 40 points I think are very useful. We're going to talk about that as well in this video. So that basically starts me on 5,000 command points, and did I say 5,000 command points? 5 command points in 2,000 point list. I would nice to start on 5,000 command points. Anyway, yes, so that is what my list looked like, and I'm going to break down my 6 MVPs, and then I'm going to talk about how also I won Best Sportsman, and I was very pleased to win the Best Sportsman. So, let's talk about MVPs. Let me start with Blade Guard, and I've given you a rating on every unit on whether I will likely run them again. So, I want to say, to full disclaimer, I am probably one of the OG Blood Angels players that have run Bladeguard. I've been running them very much since the very, very beginning. Like, as soon as they were announced from Indomitus, I believe it was, I was running Bladeguard. Back then, I was running 3. And I ran 3 in a list on my channel, and I only recently thought about this. I ran 3 on my channel on a list where I did 19 wins in a row in the channel. And I remember it was right when this channel was started, and probably 19 wins in a row on the channel. Like every Wednesday's match, I just won and won and won. I had a really nice list at the start of 9th. Our Codex was new at the start of 9th, that helped a lot as well. But I had this really nice list, and in it I ran 3 Bladeguard veterans. And sometimes it takes like something like that to bring you back, to make you think like, oh yeah, I did really well with 3 Bladeguard veterans. Why did I change? Well, I think everybody thought about Bladeguard veterans. 5 Bladeguard veterans is the perfect number because that gives you the cheap 1 CP transhuman. And I think over time my list evolved, and I definitely ran 5 Bladeguard veterans. I've run it to multiple tournaments, I believe. And you know, Bladeguard get more attacks in melee than Sanguinary Guard. They also have a better leadership. They also have the Storm Shield. They also have Transhuman. They also have more wounds, so they're better against 2 damage weapons. All they don't have is like the -1 damage the Sanguinary Guard get. But I honestly think a Storm Shield is going to outweigh not -1 damage, -1 to hit. I honestly think a Storm Shield is going to outweigh -1 to hit a lot, right? And I've run the Bladeguard foot slogging, and I've run them in impulsors, and typically found, you know, 5 seems to be the optimal number. But for this event, with the changes to Space Marines, it was difficult to cut points now because war gear doesn't cost. So I ended up compromising and cutting 2 Bladeguard veterans. I actually felt quite reserved or disappointed to have to do this. I really didn't want to have to cut the squad from 5. But then after playing this squad, 6 games now I've played with a 3-man squad, I honestly think 3-man for 105 points is the way to run the Bladeguard veterans. I think Blood Angels need something that can jump out and sit on an objective in turn 1 and 2 and hold it to score your primaries. And it's very difficult for troops to do that because they don't have the survivability. And I think Bladeguard, to me, seem like the unit that can do it. You can put 1 Bladeguard out, keep the other 2 in cover. That gives you a 1-up save on incoming fire, so if you get hit with like low AP, you can take it on the guys in cover. You also have the 4-up, you also have the 3 wounds, meaning that you're very strong against 2 damage weapons and that you've got to fail twice. You can even transhuman, which I actually did on the 3-man after thinking like that'd be wasted CP. I actually used transhuman on these guys throughout the event, and I felt it was good. And it really brought me back to like, why am I not running 3-man Bladeguard? Because these guys really do perform in a 3-man squad. They still have plenty of attacks, right? It's like, even if you don't get to like Assault Doctrine and you're just getting the +1 from Shock Assault, you are getting like, I believe it's 13 attacks hitting on 3s, so you're making round about 10 hits. And then you're probably wounding under infantry trait on 2s because you're strength 5 with +1 to wound, you're -3. So I mean, these guys are fairly killy. For just 3, they're cheap. They're never going to fail leadership with only 3 in the squad. And, I mean, while all 3 are alive, they're providing lookout sir as well. So I honestly think going forward, the way to run Bladeguard, if you've been struggling to run them, and people have been struggling, people are putting them in Pulsar, I've put them in Pulsar, people have tried to foot slog them across the board, I think run them as a 3, and just do exactly what I said. Go for a single objective, lookout sir character, they'll tussle, they'll tank, and I mean, part of me thinks like maybe I should just be running 6 and combat squad them. I think 3-man squads is the size that Bladeguard should be run now, and I feel like I'm an idiot for forgetting this. I feel like if I have to give them a rating out of 10, I'm going to say 9.5 out of 10. I don't think I'm going to run the 5 again. I mean, I mean, maybe it's just this one event, maybe it's Arks of Omen, but I honestly felt the 3 was just much more preferable to the 5. And I ran 5 in the tournament that I won, like 2 months ago. 5 inside an impulsor then. This time it was just 3 on foot. I preferred the 3 on foot. I think it's less to lose, and I think they kind of do the same job. So consider this: Bladeguard veterans in 3s. Strong. Next, Terex plus sternguard plus the Tech Marine. So I wanted to have some sort of crazy-ish deep strike threat. And I think what I've seen is Arks of Omen gives a lot of advantage to shooting units, because obviously if you deep strike as Blood Angels, you need to make that 8-inch charge, which even with a reroll is only like 65%. I don't like winning or losing games on charge rolls that are 8. I don't like winning or losing games on charge rolls that are 6. 8-inch charges with rerolls are generally unreliable. If you need them to go off and win you a tournament match, the chances are they're not going to go off. I despise 8-inch charge with nothing that can make it better, which is kind of funny because we used to have a way to charge on 3d6 and they took that away from us, but I just played World Eaters at this event who can deep strike on turn 1, multiple units, just 9 inches away. They can charge on 3d6 and discard the lowest. I'm not really sure why ours had to disappear if other armies that are arguably better in melee than us. I mean, World Eaters are 100% better than melee than us. They have like a World Eater unit, a single guy that can do 12 attacks at -3 strength 8, right? And he's like 40 points. So they are doing, they can get a lot more damage than us, right? So my thought is, you don't want to have to rely on charges, but you need the strategic reserve power because everybody's doing strategic reserves. In the game I played against Eldar, usually the way I play against Eldar, if they're running multiple squads of D-cannons, is I will go after the D-cannons, I will Forlorn Fury them. That's how if I can't get to the D-cannons, or at least use my Forlorn Fury to make him deploy them really far back, etc, etc. Well, this time, when I played Eldar, or Eldari, whatever you want to call them, all 6 D-cannons are in reserve. I have no way of knowing where they're going to come in. I can't screen the whole board against Eldari because they're going to do mortals, their jet bikes are so fast, they're going to kill my troops really quickly. So it was just like, okay, I do not really know how to deal with this. How I dealt with it was, as soon as those D-cannons came in, I deployed my Terex as like a counter. So my Terex plus the sternguard plus the Tech Marine. So in some ways, I'm doing a lot of damage, right? So my Terex is on BS3, is 5 melt the shots, 2d6 heavy flamers. The sternguard are on BS3. Bear in mind the multi-melters will take -1 to hit. So because the models have counted as moving shooting. So they're essentially on BS4, 4 multi-melter shots. And then if we're in rapid fire of 12, we're going to basically shoot the plasmas on rapid fire, which will give us 6 strength 8 -3 2 damage plasma shots. And then the Tech Marine on BS2 with a combi melta, with a plasma cutter, and with a flamer. So that's a good amount of firepower. These guys brought down like a war dog from full health. They brought down, I think it was 5 Locust heavy destroyers. In the game against the Eldar, they brought down multiple D-cannons. And these guys really do pack a punch on the charge. And by the Tech Marine having the icon of the angel, it means everybody can charge. The Tech Marine, like I already said, is good in combat because he's essentially got 2 hits from Thunderhammers. The Terex is really good in combat in that it does 6 plus D3 to vehicles, D3 plus 3 to everything else, and it's like strength 14, so it's wounding just about everything in the game. I think probably everything in the game on 2s, unless they're like -1 to wound. And the Sternguard having a Power Fist gives him, I guess, like 4 attacks with the Power Fist, and then like about, I think it was about 10 attacks with just like their regular fist. But the regular fists do get Blood Angels, you know, Red Thirst, so +1 to wound, so it's not horrific. And everybody's re-rolling because the Tech Marine has the Icon of the Angel. In this list, I also basically had a bonus, whereas if I drop within 12 inches of Guilliman, everything's re-rolling 1s to hit, and everything's getting +2 to charge, so that would be a 7-inch charge from Deep Strike with re-rolls as well. So the Terex plus the Sternguard for the Tech Marine seemed like a really good option. In the games where the Terex survived through that turn, I was then able to give him +1 to hit from the Tech Marine, and in some of the games, obviously, he took damage. I was then able to throw D3 wounds back on him to the Tech Marine as well. So I actually liked this as well. And one of the games I was actually going to put the Sternguard back inside, you know, jump into the Terex again and then move, because that would obviously be a bit faster than just the Sternguard moving on foot. But unfortunately, they got countered and they got shot. There's a lot of strategic reserves going on, and I guess multiple armies are doing more strategic reserve than you would maybe expect. This was a very cool combination. I liked it a lot. The Terex is something that I'd wanted for a while. If you haven't seen my recent unboxing video of the Terex, because I did get it commissioned just recently, I'll put a link up above and you can click that video and watch the Terex unboxing. But yeah, I felt like this provided value in every game, it's enough firepower, right? Like it's 9 melta shots, 5 regular, essentially 4 multi-meltas, so they're with +2 damage, and then it's the 6 plasma shots, and then the combi melta. I guess if you added in the combi melta, and I was never shooting the bolter, I was always just shooting the better version. I guess I had the bolter. I could have just run a melta gun, but I guess I ran the combi meltas and the combi plasmas in case I came up against a horde army and I wanted those extra shots. But yeah, so I'm basically getting 10 melta shots and like 6 plasma shots. Various degrees of weapon skill and stuff there, but bonuses if you can deploy them either near Guilliman or the Chapter Master. Like there's 2 ways I can reroll ones to hit in this army. So I gave this a 9.5 out of 10. I'm definitely going to use it again. Overall, I felt like this was one of the most fun units that I think that I played with. And I really liked it. I just really liked it. And I think the Terex really kept people on edge, right? People were really trying to screen the deployment zone. People were wondering where it was going to come in. And I think if I'd had a few more games with this list, I would have possibly gone 4-1 in this event. I went 3-2, which was fine. But bear in mind, I only played 1 game previous to the event with this list. Okay. Power Sword, Infernal Pistol, Death Company. And in some ways I want to talk about Sanguinary Guard, Infernal Pistol models as well, because at my last event I'd moved towards 2 squads of Thunderhammers, 4 Thunderhammers and 1 guy with Infernal Pistol. However, Marines have no durability right now. Death Company have no durability. Sanguinary Guard have a tiny bit of durability. Our troops feel like they have no durability. The only units that I've got that feel durable, really, are the ones with Storm Shields. And even then, durability for Marines feels low. I mean, there's a reason I think Blood Angels are at a 45% win rate is we don't have great secondaries and we don't do durable anymore, so we're like super reliant on terrain. I've been to these tournaments before, the Scottish Takeover ones. The terrain on them is generally fine, but I would say it's maybe lower terrain than some of the biggest events that you might go to. So if you know you're going to be on less terrain, you need some durable units. But I want to talk about like the Infernal Pistol Death Company now, right? So because we have no durability, I basically felt, and also because this list didn't have a Sanguinary Priest, I sort of felt to myself, the 4 Thunderhammer guys are maybe not going to work here, right? Because I can't put them in Assault Doctrine in turn 1 because adaptive strategy actually requires your Warlord to be a Blood Angels Warlord. Obviously in this list my Warlord is Guilliman, so I can't use adaptive strategy. So I changed up and went 5 Thunderhammers and I went 5 Infernal Pistols and Power Swords. And the Infernal Pistol Power Sword list, or the squad, is 115 points with a jump pack. I think that's really cheap. I think it's a good squad, like it's a very killy squad, but just bear in mind, like, it has no durability. It will kill and then it will die. I feel like there's no point playing Refusal to Die. They will die. Refusal to Die never makes anyone refuse to die any quicker. Like, if the enemy put any sort of firepower into them, they will die very quickly. But with the emergence of World Eaters, and I've seen multiple lists of World Eaters that are like full of Berserkers, and Berserkers will eat Death Company up, and a bunch of the Berserkers are either going to be like potentially in reserve now, or in Rhinos. And I guess if they're in Rhinos, then there's nothing those hammers can do, right? Like before this tournament, I was running 2 squads of hammers. You're never going to be able to open up a transport with 1 Infernal Pistol. So basically my thought was, right, we'll go 5 hammers because I don't have Assault Doctrine, so that will keep me with 20 Thunderhammer attacks if I need it in 1 squad, and then I'll go 5 Infernal Pistols, and I'll probably give that Infernal Pistol squad Chapter Master rerolls, and I'll probably send them they will be my Forlorn Fury squad, and we'll see what they can do, right? Because they're cheap, so it's only 115 points. If they do some work on Forlorn Fury, I'm feeling great about it. And that's one thing that I felt with Chapter Master rerolls and tons of Infernal Pistols. It does make those Death Company and Sanguinary Guards just that much more killy if the enemy don't have invulnerable saves. And I've killed stuff like Gladiator tanks. I've killed, I think I killed a bunch of Wolven in one of the games, and you know how difficult Wolven can be with their fight on death. And I think in the game against the Tyranids, I managed to actually get into the Zonothropes, or the Neurothrope. I forget which is the character, which is a squad. I got into the squad anyway and managed to do a bunch of damage into the squad, and that helps a lot because Tyranids are going to mortal wound me to death with a Mal Scepter in the Zonothrope / Neurothrope. So I found having a lot of Infernal Pistols always helped me more than ever. Like, you know, when you used to run Sangry Guard and you had a load of Agilis bolt guns, and I used to run like 6 Sangry Guard, 7 Sangry Guard, all with bolt guns because you wanted them to be cheap. I always found those bolt guns lacking. It was cool they were assault weapons, so they did get a decent amount of fire and a decent, like a very decent threat range. But they always have, you know, they always just do a couple of wounds here and there. I think Sangry Guard and Death Company with Infernal Pistols are just much better. And, you know, a single Infernal Pistol sneaks through. It's much easier for 1 or 2 pistols to sneak through when you have 5 of them in the unit or whatever. So yes, I like the Infernal Pistol Power Sword Death Company at 115 points. I feel like you could do a lot worse ways to arm your Death Company. If you lose them, it's not a big deal. If they slow the opponent down, they jump in, they'll probably definitely kill something. And against weaker targets like Toughness 3 enemies, you can also use Hammer of Wrath with them, so you can probably do like 3 to 5 mortals on the charge as well. So 5 Infernal Pistols, 3 to 5 mortals on the charge, then 20 odd Power Swords in turn 1 for 115 points and I guess 1 CP. And you see on my list I'm starting with 5 CP, so I got loads of CP. I felt like they were deadly, fast and cheap. And I kind of kept my Thunderhammer squad as a reactionary unit, because like the enemy are going to have big tough units that you're going to have to deal with. They're potentially going to be deep striking them in or throwing them into your lines. So I try to always obscure / hide that 5-man Death Company with hammers really well and try to use them to react to whatever the enemy had. And it probably worked out really well actually. I really like this army list. I feel really sad that I'm probably not going to get to play this army list again, because my kids are just at a really awkward age where it's hard for me to go to tournaments at the moment, because the 2 kids are just like fighting all the time and it's a nightmare. But I would really like to have gone to another tournament. I know 10th is probably coming in the summer and I'm not going to be able to run this list again, and that makes me really sad because this was a really fun list, and obviously it was really fun for my opponents as well, because I think you don't get best sportsman if you're not fun to play against, and we're going to come to that in a few minutes as well. So yeah, basically putting Infernal Pistols on Death Company or Sangard and putting on every single model is making you deadly, fast. I guess the Death Company are cheap, the Sangry Guard aren't cheap, but deadly and fast. But we've given up all our survivability, I feel like. Like I lost Death Company to like cheap World Eater units. I lost Sangry Guard. I mean, generally my units were like a lot of the games that I scored well, I still lost a lot of models. And Blood Angels didn't get very many points drops. You know, like Black Templars, like I saw a Black Templar list get 400 points cheaper. I saw a Space Wolf list get 400 points cheaper. My Blood Angels list barely got any points cheaper, maybe 100 points cheaper. So that's why I'm running this sort of like wacky list, because I think that the list I was running before would really struggle into the Arks of Omen season. So if you're getting any value out of today's video, please, you can click the like button. You can click subscribe if you don't know about the channel or if you've never seen this before, and you can click the bell if you want to make sure that you get notifications about our new videos. We put out a new tactics video every Friday where I talk tactics and how to be better at Blood Angels. So if you don't click that bell, you might not get notified, you might miss out. So make sure you click it. If we haven't met, I'm John and this is the Blood Angels Commander channel, and every week we're going to do various videos about Blood Angels. Okay, next. And he's gone through, he was Roboute Guilliman, he was Roboute Guilliman, my friend Stuart, who played Space Wolves, and we had a really close game at Space Wolves. It was actually a really fun game because last time it was really close as well. And I think Stuart has improved as a player because I was trying to give him some tips being a Marine player. It's probably, I don't know if Stuart voted for me in Best Sportsman, it's probably possibly one of the reasons. I was trying to give him some tips on how he can be a better player. At the end of the game, Stuart actually asked me, he said, so this Guilliman thing, can Guilliman work with Space Wolves? And I was like, yeah, I mean, he's Imperium, you can use him. But throughout the game, Stuart started calling Guilliman Sanguilius, and I actually kind of liked it. So we've put it at the top here, Roboute Sanguilius. But what can I really say about him? Like, the Lord of the Commander of the Imperium can lead the Angels in red pretty effectively. But unfortunately, maybe not for long. What's he doing? Why is he good, right? He's hitting on 2s, he's rerolling 1s. He's good in shooting, right? He's rapid fire, well, he's got rapid fire 24, so basically within 12 inches he's getting 6 shots at -1/2 damage. These are Marine killers, right? With Marines losing Armor of Contempt, -1 means that, like, on average, he's basically killing, like, 2 Marines, and if you were in Tactical Doctrine, which we always are in turn 2, which is probably when he's going to be in rapid fire range, probably killing, like, 3 Marines every time he shoots his gun. He's also a monster, so you can shoot in combat if that ever happens. And he benefits from Doctrines, right? His sword, the Emperor Sword, and I had so much fun with Emperor's Sword, is 7 attack, strength 8, -4, 3 damage, 6s do D3 mortals, right? So against, once you get to turn 3, that's -5. He did 16 wounds to the Silent King in 1 round of combat. Basically, like, Silent King was at full health, killed him. Silent King actually attacked him first, so I was sort of shitting myself. I was like, oh shit, Silent King's probably going to kill Guilliman. Silent King did 1 wound to Guilliman, and Guilliman just took the Emperor's Sword and just sliced him. I think he failed 4 saves, so that was 12 damage, and then he did 4 mortals, killing him outright. My best roll in this tournament was I did 12 mortal wounds to Miles in 1 turn of combat. I lost to Miles. Damn you, Miles, I'll get you next time. But I did do 12 mortal wounds to him in a single round of combat. That was fun. That was really fun. The Hand of Dominion is 7 attacks. His strength 12, 1 less AP, but 4 damage as well. I think at one point Guilliman fought Armiger, and he just went like, I mean, 3 failed saves at -4. They're not saving, right? So it's just like, yes, Guilliman will 100% just eat the Armiger alive in 1 round of combat. So that was nice as well. Guilliman can also happily score Oath of the Moments. And you're going to want him probably in the centre of the map because he's got 12-inch aura, he's on a 60mm base. If he's standing in the centre of the map, basically the whole map, or the whole sort of centre part, which is kind of the play area because no one's really on the sides of the map anyway, you're going to get reroll 1s, you're going to get +2 to all your charges because Blood Angels get +1, plus another one from Guilliman, and advances, which means you're moving so fast. I mean, like, I think I had, like, in cursors, like, advancing 16 inches or something across the board. You also get reroll morale tests, which would be nice. Guilliman can also synergize with knights if you want to bring knights, because they're Imperium, so you let them reroll 1s as well. And also, he gives you +3 CP by being, like, your warlord, because he's the... I guess he's the leader of the Imperium, right? So, like, one of the games I actually ended on, like, 5 CP. I had so many CP in one of the games. It felt good. I always was able to interrupt. Blood Angels live and die on if we can interrupt in combat and stuff like that. I could always suppression fire. I really liked having Guilliman in the list. He is obviously toughness 6 with 9 wounds and a 3 up in Van. So, unless they're doing mortals, he's super survivable. I was actually using CP a lot to reroll saves, because rerolling saves on a 3 up in Van is, like... It's well worth it. Anytime I was hit with more than like a 1 or 2 damage weapon, I was definitely re-rolling that save, and I'm still finishing the game with CP. He also has a 50-50% chance to come back. You roll a 4 up if he dies, he's coming back with D6 wounds. In the game I didn't need him to come back, he came with 5 wounds. In the game I needed him to come back, he didn't come back. Go figure. But it was still fun, and I think that was he only died twice. So once he came back, once he didn't. So law of averages. But the time he came back, it was like I was already winning that game, and then it's like, oh, Guilliman's back with 5 wounds. My opponent's face just dropped. He's like, what am I supposed to do? So he's such a big force multiplier for Blood Angels. He's a monster in combat. His shooting is good. Yeah, I mean, he works in this list. I ran him previously in a list with double ball predators, and I think he works with that as well. But one of the things that he worked most effectively probably with was those 3 Blade Guard were bodyguarding him. So, like, no one was able to charge Guilliman, because I didn't really want anyone charging / alpha striking Guilliman. So the 3 Blade Guard were, after turn 1, maybe if they'd held that objective, like I said, then they were in different games, they were moving around keeping Guilliman safe. In the World Eaters game, they were 100% keeping Guilliman safe, because World Eaters are horrific in combat. And then he was also, the Gladiator Reaper was also hanging out with him. And I had some Terminators, which I kept in Deep Strike as well. The plan was to Deep Strike them within 12 of Guilliman, so that they're making that Deep Strike charge on a 7. And you can do that for Blood Angels, like you can take a Chaplain and you can give him the litany to basically make your charges go off on a 7. It helps quite a lot. It changes your reroll charge from 66% up to 83%. So I feel like an 83% chance of making that charge in a tournament sounds much better, sounds much more reliable than 66. It'll still fail, probably still fail when you desperately need it, but I could also drop the Terex within 12 and get reroll 1s on all the firepower we talked about and the charges, and Guilliman was I love playing him. I've never been like, as long as I've played 40k, I've never had an army where I had some sort of big. I've said this. I loved having a big bad at a GP, a big bad, hard to kill monster that can do a lot of damage and can threaten just about everywhere he goes. I loved it. It really suited me. I hope I can. I hope we can play something again like that. I felt like it really just suited me, and I felt like as a Blood Angels player, I would love to see, I know we can't have a Primarch, but I would love to one day have something similar. I had a lot of fun at this event, and my opponents obviously had a lot of fun as well. Thank you for leading me to the best sportsmanship, Sanguilius. I appreciate it. Next up, Terminators with a Mastercrafted Claw. So before this event, I was running Terminators with a Mastercrafted Hammer. And I've obviously said 9-inch charges are unreliable. Having +2 to charge can help a lot. Also with potentially a free reroll if they were within range of the Tech Marine, or just basically I can pay the CP because I've got loads of CP in this list because of Guilliman giving me that +3. I felt like having 4 guys with Thunderhammers, but not the Sergeant, was the best decision that I made. Because previously, the Terminators start taking fire, I'd be pulling off Lightning Claw models, right? And then kind of trying to keep the Thunderhammer guys alive. But the Thunderhammer guys don't get that many attacks, because the Terminators just have base 2 attacks, and Sergeant has 3, and then they don't hit very well, right? So they hit on 4s. So if you actually only have like a couple of Thunderhammer guys left, your reliability of that squad is actually pretty low. So the way I played it was 4 Thunderhammers with a shield to give the squad durability, and then Mastercraft the Lightning Claw on the Sergeant, meaning that if he charges or is charged, and it's turn 3, and typically I was bringing them down in turn 3, maybe in one game I brought them in turn 2, I can't remember, but if he is charged, then you're getting 6 attacks on a 2 damage Lightning Claw. The Lightning Claw is going to be super reliable in that it's going to hit on 3s. Again, if you're in Guilliman, it's going to be re-rolling 1s. You can pay Fury the First to make it hit on 2s, so hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. And then Lightning Claw basically probably wounding on 4s, I guess, at worst, because of Blood Angels +1 to wound, re-rolling those wounds, and then they're -3/2 damage. So I actually got charged, the whole squad of Terminators got charged by 6 Space Wolf aggressors. And the aggressors went first because they charged. I think the Terminators had maybe fought something the previous turn or something. Yeah, I think the Terminators had fought something the previous turn, but they were out in the open now. They get charged by the 6 aggressors. I lost 3 Terminators. Storm Shields are good, right? And also 3 wounds is good against 2 damage. So it's kind of like they're a natural counter to aggressors, but still lost 3 Terminators. The 2 that were left, and I think they would have definitely been within Guilliman's aura range, but the 2 that were left managed to kill 4.5 aggressors. So, I mean, point for point, that's basically like 70 points of Terminators killing almost 150 points of aggressors, right? It was 1 wound away from taking that 5th aggressor out. So I think the hammer maybe killed 2, and then the Lightning Claw guy basically killed 2 and did 2 wounds. So the Mastercrafted Lightning Claw I think was really good. It provided some reliability. I don't know if I would run the Mastercrafted Lightning Claw if I wasn't running Guilliman, because I don't know if we have enough CP for that. But it did seem like an interesting way to run the Terminators. I think it's the way that I will run them in the future, as much as I liked having the 4 damage Thunderhammer, because I ran that just last week, and I think I killed the Hellbrute with a 4 damage Thunderhammer. But over the course of the game, the 2 damage Lightning Claw definitely seemed to come up very useful. Came up useful when I was killing characters or low wound models. And I think like we need units that can survive, and not many things can survive, but Terminators are on a 2-up save, so if you got 4 of them with Storm Shields, that makes it a 1-up save. So when I was taking fire, if I dropped them in cover, they're on a 0-up save, so even at -2, I'm saving on 2s. Now that's a lot of wounds to chew through, saving on 2s. I was getting hit with -3 sometimes, but even -3, saving on 3s felt pretty darn nice. And at that point, again, this list had a ton of CP, so I was using some CP to reroll 3-up saves. The Terminator unit felt very survivable, and again, they were helped out thanks to Roboute. Who wasn't helped out by Roboute in this list? I guess who wasn't helped out by Roboute was Voidsmen at arms. They're toughness 3. They never shot their guns once at this event, nor did they ever do any damage in melee combat. I think they got to fight once into a squad of Necron warriors, but they didn't do any damage, gutting. I think at the last event, I ran them in the last event, all 5 games, I think they did 1 wound to Dark Angel's bike and killed it, and I was very happy about that. Anyway, why are they good? Voidsmen are great because they're 40 points, they're tiny bases, so it's super easy to sneak them in if you're trying to do data in a quadrant, because you know, 5 of them lined up barely takes up any space at all. I feel like you can always sneak them in and get some data. And if you're going to took behind enemy lines, which I took in a couple of games, in the games that I did take it, I think I've got my scores down below, but they will grant you 3 CP and 9 victory points if they can sneakily be deployed in a backfield, right? Because if they can sneakily be deployed in the backfield and stay there for 3 turns, they're going to give you 3 points for CP, 3 CP, because they are troops, and they're going to give you 9 victory points for behind enemy lines, which means you really just need like 1 other unit for a turn or 2, and behind enemy lines is almost maxed. I think in the current meta, Blood Angels don't have a good 3rd secondary. I think that we needed to keep Fury of the Lost. I think Relentless Assault is no better than behind enemy lines. Some people disagree with me on that, but we'll look down below and see how I scored for that. And I think Oaths. So you've got Oaths, you've got behind enemy lines, shock tactics, relentless assault, which are all 3 in the same category. So we don't have a good 3rd secondary. Like, we just don't have it. We can't take Codex Warfare. We can't stay in Devastator Doctrine. I know some Blood Angels players have been doing that, but that's not for me. I need to get Assault Doctrine up. I feel like Blood Angels power spike so hard in Assault Doctrine. If I could get a way to get into Assault Doctrine quicker than turn 3 without having to spend like 100 points in CP on a priest, I would 100% do it. So, in a meta where we've got no 3rd choice, I found these guys super useful, and that was the reason that I ended up actually dropping those Terminators. The Terminator's 2nd squad of hammers was almost not dropped by choice. It was dropped to fit in Voidsman arms, but it turned out that I think it was the best choice, one of the best. So 2 choices I made sort of just to fit units in actually turned out really good. On the games where I took data, I averaged 9 VP. I had a couple of tough games. I did lose 2 games. So 9 VP, I guess, when you lose a couple of games isn't too bad for that secondary. And in the games I took behind enemy lines, I averaged 13 VP. Now, I guess suppose you could argue that maybe if I'd taken Relentless Assault, I could have got more. But Voidsmen aren't going to score Relentless Assault because they aren't Blood Angels. And in a couple of games, the Voidsmen actually did give me, against the World Eaters, they 100% gave me 3 CP, sorry. In some of the other games, they gave me CP as well. I think against Nids, and I think against, I think it was Necrons maybe. But yeah, so getting those extra CP made them feel really worthwhile. In an army where I already had loads of CP, it was kind of ridiculous. Like, I think, so I started on 5, gained 10 throughout the game, and then I guess in one of the games I got 3, so I actually had 18 CP in one of those games. And that wasn't even the game I finished on 5. Like, I had more CP. This was the best in terms of CP I ever felt. So what do I think of Voidsmen? They are like strength 9 out of 10. They're now providing bonus CP to your army. Galaxy-wide is what I've said. Okay, and then the last unit I want to talk about was the Gladiator Reaper, and this was something I never thought I would say. The Reaper was MVP, but only in 1 game against the World Eaters. I don't have much experience playing a Reaper, right? Like, I literally played it 1 time, and I guess that was against World Eaters as well, so maybe it makes sense why it was the MVP. It might be better to start the Reaper in reserve or hide it. There's a lot of alpha strike in this tournament. There's a lot of people putting stuff in reserve as well. I started on the board in some cases thinking it could be a threat. It might have been better to start it in reserve. It was hard to know how much people are starting in reserve, and this Arks of Omen season has seen more things in reserve than probably ever before, right? Like, I've never been at an event where, like, D-cannons were in reserve for Eldari, or I guess like Space Wolves were basically running like drop pods with Devastators. You know, it was just interesting to see much more stuff in reserve. I think Woven, multiple squads of Woven in reserve, you know, just things that you hadn't seen in reserve before. So 24 shots, strength 6 -1, 1 damage, potentially 15. I think it's actually 16 bolter shots. I think I was using 15 at the event. I don't know how I got it. It's rapid fire 8, so I guess I did myself out of 1 shot. Strength 4 -1, 1 damage, and then you've got stubber rocket pods and potentially Guilliman rerolls. I will run it again for sure. I think it was a 9. It was almost as cool as the Ball Predator. Almost, not quite. But against the World Eaters, it helped me so much. Like, the Reaper must have killed, like, 20 or 30 Berserkers and maybe, like, a bunch of 8-bound. I was screening it. It was just mowing things down. It was very, very useful. We've seen them be devastating for Iron Hands. Obviously, Guilliman adds a bit of reliability to it that normally you wouldn't have as Blood Angels. But, yeah, I like the Reaper a lot in this list. I think, potentially, if I wasn't running Guilliman, maybe, like, 3 Ball Predators would be better than 2 Reapers. But, yeah, Reapers. Not bad. Glad I bought one. Maybe I'll get another one day. We'll see. Okay. How did I get Best Sportsman? And I guess this is a question maybe because I don't know who all voted for me for Best Sportsman. But I wanted to give a shout out to all my opponents at this event. Every game was really great. It was played at a high level, and it was also a level that I felt was really fair and relaxed. One thing I like to do at an event is tell people straight up before the game starts that I'm happy to play by intent. So if it's obvious they were going to do something, they moved their unit onto objective and didn't fire it because they were going to scan or something, try and be the person that says, yeah, that's fine. You were obviously going to do that scan. I'm fine with it. Like, if you forget something at an event, I know for myself, if you forget something, you can end up kicking yourself all the way home or kicking yourself in the evening. And playing 5 games in 2 days is mentally draining. By like game 5, my brain was complete mush. And from game 3 onward, I was like, I had a headache, right? So like, yes. So things I try to do maybe to make myself the best sportsman. If your opponent has a model, they're going to move into the next phase, it hasn't shot, it was obvious it was going to shoot, I reminded them about it. Or maybe pointed out, hey, you didn't shoot with that model, was that your plan? Just being nice. You'd want it done to you. I said below here, treat others how you would like to be treated yourself, right? Like, it's kind of obvious, but also I did just say that. One of my opponents was going to shoot a certain way, and I said, well, it'd be much better if you actually shot the squad here. Going to shoot the Tech Marine, and then they were going to and leave the squad with all the multi-meltas and the combi weapons or whatever. I was like, you'd probably be much better, shooting the squad, because you're probably going to kill like 3-4 guys, and you might kill the Tech Marine. To me, it seems like it'd be much better value to shoot the squad, And they said, oh yeah, that makes total sense. I appreciate you telling me, so no problem. Reply my opponent about any gotchas. Like if I've got a unit that can heroically intervene, tell them, if you charge there, I'm going to heroically intervene with Guilliman. Are you okay with that? Because that's definitely going to happen. I think my opponent in that game was just like, oh, cool, okay, we're going to have a fight with Guilliman. Yes, let's do it. Like he wanted the fight. He was up for a bit of a challenge. But it seemed like the right thing to do, right? Because let's face it, Guilliman's going to kill a lot of stuff in combat. I helped clear up some edge case rules. Maybe for an opponent that wasn't aware of them. Like the rule about the armor Sherb springs to mind. If you have a Sherb in a Devastator squad, remember you don't have to declare the Sherb at the start. You can shoot the whole unit, and then after you've shot the whole unit, then you can decide if you want to use the Sherb. That gives you more options, really, because you don't have to blow it at the start, and it's actually a separate attack. So if you wanted to then use the Sherb to basically use it on the multi-melta guy that's already been made +1 to hit to maybe shoot at another target or something, you could do that. So just told my opponent, like, hey, did you know that? Because the way you did it made it seem like you didn't know that. And then, yeah, the last thing I said, let them perform an action, which they obviously meant to do if they forgot. I felt actually more proud winning this award, I think, than the tournament that I won just like 2 months ago. I mean, it was cool to win the event, but being voted best sportsman and also having just 5 really fun games where everybody knew that. I mean, I've been to that event now probably like 4 or 5 times, so I guess people are starting to know that I'm a fun, fair opponent to play against, which is kind of all. I mean, that's kind of what I pride myself in. Like, there's not going to be any janky shit when you play me. I mean, I'm going to try and win. And actually, when they presented me the award, they said you can still be a good opponent and kick ass, and that's where I landed. So, yeah, cool. Final slide then. Conclusion. I've got a few games. I took some photos. I'll break some games down over the next few weeks. Those games will just filter out. They're not my regular tactics videos. I'll filter them out whenever I can. We're not going to have a battle report, or we've just I think we're going to get back to live battle reports the Wednesday following this video. So there wouldn't have been one just the Wednesday past, but hopefully next Wednesday we're going to get back to live battle reports. I sometimes just have to take a break from live battle reports where I am with the age of my kids and how much hassle they're causing for my family and my wife. Sometimes I need a break, and it's probably one of the reasons that I'm really sad that I'm not going to get to play this tournament list again, because I would like to play it. If no one's run this list, I implore you to run it and have fun, because I have never had so much fun as I have, I think, with this list. I really do see Arks of Omen as a rare opportunity to have fun. We have a 45% win rate. It's going to be super hard. I'd hoped before the event that I could go 4-1. 3-2 was fine. 3-2 with winning best sportsman. I think I'm more happy with that than 4-1. Give your opponent great games. Try your interesting and wacky lists. Now is the time. What's next on the channel? Next Tactics Friday. We're going to look at those new Desolator troops and we're going to compare them straight up against the Vindicator Laser Destroyer. Blood Angels do need some anti-tank firepower normally. Maybe you could run a Terex like me and you could do it that way. But if you are going to do some sort of more, I was going to say more standard, maybe when you can't put everything in reserve for free and you need to play more standard, let's have a look at Desolators. Let's compare them to Laser Destroyers and let's just see what's best. So that's going to be probably what's coming next week. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you guys that get to the end of the video every week. If you didn't click the like button already, please do that. I have been John and you have been awesome for staying to the end. I'll catch you in the next video, my friends. By the blood are we made strong. Peace.